I am excited to be joined today by our distinguished speakers, Abby Alukea, founder and CEO of Smart Girls HQ, and Gina Raimondo, U.S. Secretary of Commerce. Many thanks to both of you for being here today. What a great way to conclude Women's History Month and our Women's Entrepreneurship Symposium. We're excited to spend the next 30 minutes hearing from you both today. I hope this to be a free-flowing conversation. So while I have a few questions that may be individualized, that doesn't mean the questions are limited to just one of you. Please feel free to chime in or follow on because I know we'd love to hear both of your perspectives. We have a lot of current and aspiring women leaders watching today, and I know they would love to hear your stories. So let's get started. My first question goes to actually both of you. Please share your story of how you set out on the path that got you where you are today. And please tell us about any pivotal or eureka moments you might have had in your journey that made you realize that this is what you wanted to do. Abby, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you, Gina. And so my story begins really very, very far away from here in the bustling streets of Lagos, which is the most populous city in Nigeria, a country in West Africa, where I grew up. And it is on those busy, enterprising streets, that environment, that I learned perseverance and passion and grit. And even my passion for STEM really started there because you wouldn't think it, but in an environment like I grew up in Nigeria, STEM is very encouraged because the careers that are related to science, technology, engineering, and math are typically seen as the ones that are progressive and guaranteed for you to have economic success. So your parents would encourage you to study something in the sciences for that reason. So all those early gifts really helped me push past a lot of discouraging moments, in my path. For example, when I moved here to the States in high school, my guidance counselor, after I told her that I was interested in studying computer science, she made it a point to dig up research studies to alert me to the fact that girls didn't like STEM. And I don't know why she did that, but she felt she really needed to warn me that the path that I was going down was not one that, most girls would. And even when I pushed past that and I got to college, it was that grit that I learned from my upbringing that helped me get past the fact that I was one of the only other Black female in my program. Right. But when I did start my career in STEM, I realized that my guidance counselor actually did me a favor because the fact that I knew so much from the studies that she showed me, and then the more research I did about what I was up against, really helped me prepare and helped me become more knowledgeable. And so I wasn't shocked when things were happening. I wasn't shocked that I was the only in a lot of rooms, and that made it easier for me to persist against what I really desired. When I got into the workforce, same thing. I wasn't shocked. I was now prepared, and that idea of being extra prepared was actually what helped me grow in my career. And I kept getting promoted into much larger responsibilities because I happened to just always know what was new in my industry, and so I just sort of kept that. But 10 years in, I had forgotten that I was the only female in the room a lot of times. I had almost become one of the guys, and I stopped noticing until I started having children of my own. So I have two children. Now they're 10 and 7, but at the time they were just about 5 and 3. And as they were getting into the ages like between 3 and 5, both of them, like clockwork, would come home and start expressing gender biases about toys and different things. It would be, that's a boy thing. I don't want that. That's a boy color. And I just couldn't understand where they were getting this from. And so my thought was, I'm just going to research and make sure I, expose them to more things, because clearly there are a lot of headwinds outside of my home. And when I did go research, at the time I would go on Amazon to find things, I realized they were actually right. a lot of things were boy things. They were things that I knew if I bought for them, just aesthetically, they would not be interested. And they really honestly started me on the path to starting Smart Girls HQ because it was that problem that I sort of got obsessed with and spent a year researching to learn that by age 12 is when girls start to lean away from STEM because they didn't really have exposure to it up to that point. And so I just wanted to figure out a way to contribute more content around this space. How do we get girls more engaged to persist past age 12?
Great. Thanks, Abby. Secretary Raimondo, do you want to share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, thank you, Abby. That was great, and I love your energy. So I guess just a couple of reflections. I would say I was also very much affected by my family. I come from a family of immigrants and just was taught from a very early age about how important work was and the value of work, and was not largely, but greatly influenced by my older brother and my grandfather who lived in the house with us. Just there was never a thought that I couldn't be whatever I wanted to be as long as I worked hard. And there was a real focus on just working hard to get ahead and also getting a job. Really from the earliest time as a kid, the girls and boys in my family got a job. And so that has affected me greatly because I have devoted my public career as a governor and as a cabinet secretary to helping everybody get a decent job. It's more than a paycheck. It's more than a paycheck. It's dignity, it's advancement, it's pride. And I think that for me has propelled me in my career because truthfully, I was just enormously fortunate to have good education and opportunities. And lots of people aren't that lucky. And so I have focused intensively on making sure everybody, girls, boys, people of color, rural, urban, just has a shot at a decent job for the financial stability, but also for the dignity that comes with work. I would say a eureka moment as I reflected on that. A year or so ago, when I was the governor of Rhode Island and not done with my term, President Biden called, or President-elect Biden called and asked me to be the Secretary of Commerce. And he, said, come join the team, revitalize manufacturing. And that resonated with me, back to the same thing, helping Americans get good jobs. But I'll be very honest, I was nervous. I had 2 teenagers. I would have to leave being the governor. I had to move my family from Rhode Island to Washington. Would I like this, et cetera? And I basically, I just decided, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to have concerns, but you have to push that aside and muster the confidence and courage to take the risk. And so that's what I did. And my message to everyone and to women is if you're asked to lead, say yes. If you're given an opportunity, say yes. If someone opens the door to you a bit to go for something more, say yes. You're going to be nervous. You probably do what I did. How will this affect my family? Can I do this? Can I handle it? It's okay to have those concerns. Dig deep down, find the confidence, push the concerns aside, say yes, and step up and lead. Because the world needs you to do it. It's not just about you. It's not just about you. It would have been more comfortable and easier to stay as governor. Be more comfortable and easy not to take the risks. You got to do it because the world needs your talent, your leadership, your voice. It's not going to be easy, but I'm telling you, you got more than you think. You're needed more than you realize, and you have an obligation to step up.
That's really great advice. Thank you. Abby, pulling on that string a little bit, you started to tell us a little bit about Smart Girls HQ. If you could tell us a little bit more about the mission of the organization, and then also, to touch on that point, any barriers you might have faced building a startup.
Yeah, so Smart Girls HQ's mission is really to help all our young girls get to that starting line of middle school, which is about age 12, STEM career literate. And that just means that they understand all of their options and all of the diverse options in the sciences, technology, engineering, and math so that they can fit in our growing digital economy. The three tenets that guide our work are really around discovery, self-efficacy, and fluency. So we want to help young girls discover what's available. We do that by supporting their caregivers. So we have a media property called Raising Smart Girls, where parents are connected to get resources and tools to support their children. And then we also have our own line of products that are basically career education in a box. They're called Dear Smart Girl Kits, and it's really like a love letter to young girls to say, hey, check out this career, and here's a fun project that you can do to really understand it. The other thing that we want to see happen as they do our projects is self-efficacy, right? So once you know what's possible, we want you to feel like, oh, well, if I want to do this, I can, right? So we don't think that every girl will pursue a STEM career, but we do want them to have those tools in their tool belt so that they can thrive wherever they find themselves. And then the last bit is fluency, right? So once we create a spark, how do we help you go deeper in age appropriate ways? And we're building educational technology to support that so that we can use AI to make personal recommendations that increase in complexity as well as breadth for their exploration. The biggest challenge that I have faced or just come across, and it's going to sound typical because we hear this a lot, is really the ability to acquire the level of capital needed to execute as the scale that we want to. So for example, we have two of our kits. So our kits look like this, Dear Smart Girl Kits. We have two of them. Our plan is to build 36 because it's a full curriculum from age 6 through 12. It's physical product, requires inventory. We have technology that goes with it, right? There's a lot that goes into building at scale at that level. So for comparison, another company that's also kit-based with technology that's focused on early childhood development, they've raised $26 million in venture funding so far. And we've raised less than $500,000 in non-dilutive funding, right? So it's really hard to go as hard as you want to without the right kind of funding. And when you're thinking about innovation, right, we're talking about risk, and we've all talked about that today. They're pretty much synonymous, innovation and risk. And we've got this entire segment of our economy called venture capital dedicated to just increasing the velocity of innovation, right? So we can get to breakthroughs much faster for all of us. Think about the pandemic and how quickly we could get to vaccines, right? That's what innovation does. But we shouldn't have to do this at such high personal risk, right? That's what venture capital is for, is that we can focus the risk on the actual work of building. But when women are getting less than 2% of venture funding, what's happening is people like me are taking, and Sita, who was very transparent early about the personal risk she took to build her business. We're taking such personal risk using our personal savings to get things started, right? To take the bet on ourselves because we do believe that what we have to offer is important for the whole world. One last quick point I'll make about this. One of the authors I really love, Adam Grant, is a popular business thought leader. He writes a book, Originals, How Nonconformists Change the World. He has this idea about a portfolio of risk. And he says that, all of us have a portfolio of risk. And so when you've taken a lot of risk, you're going to balance it out somewhere else. And so if you think about for a lot of women who may not have access to mainstream capital and so have to take so much personal risk, we're going to balance it out by slowing down the amount of risk we can take in the actual building and innovating. So where our male peers are getting these large checks to do the work that they're doing without having to risk their personal well-being, like mortgage their houses or whatever sort of personal risk people take, they can put that risk in their work and get through innovative breakthroughs so much faster and skill faster. That's really what we're missing when we don't fund women at the rate that we should. So I'm really grateful for programs like the SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research Fund, that does fill this gap. And what's wonderful about the SBIR, for people that don't know about it, all of the agencies like NSF and IES and Department of Defense all offer it. And it is one of the only funding sources from the government that's for public companies, commercial companies like us. And it's funding you based on the intellectual and commercial merit of your idea. So whether you're a woman or a man, comes less into play, because it's really about how well you can present your idea to a panel of other community people in the community help judge this. So we got awarded one from the NSF last year, which has been amazing in helping us build our technology. And we're hoping to get a phase 2 this year. So these programs are helping to fill the gap, at least for me, in navigating this challenge in my business. But there really is a lot of work we've got to do as a nation in really filling that gap for women to being able to take the kind of risk we need to with our business to get through the breakthroughs.
That's really helpful insight, having you gone through that path and hearing your story. Secretary Raimondo, I think that's a good segue. This administration has made gender equity and equality a priority. Why is this issue important to you, to women, to the US economy? And what is DOC, the Department of Commerce, doing to really put a dent into this issue?
Yeah. So, gosh, how do you answer that? Like, it's important to me as a person, as a woman, as a mother of a daughter, because it's the right thing to do. It's a basic human right to have opportunity and a chance to be successful and have a fulfilling career and life. But as the Commerce Secretary, it's important to me because America cannot compete unless we take advantage of the full talent supply in America. There's so much talk today about our competition with China. If we unleash the full talent supply in America, including women and girls, including people of color, including women and girls of color, we'll win all day long. But if we don't, we will not compete, because you can't win if you don't have your most talented players on the field. And so whether that is what Abby's talking about with innovation, or entrepreneurs or business leaders, you need women out there. Diversity is America's greatest competitive advantage. Homogeneity is the enemy of innovation. It's the enemy of creativity, the enemy of economic growth. So if you want to grow this economy, have the most innovative, successful, fast-growing companies in the world, compete on the global stage, then you have to tap into women's talent. And that means we have to get serious about it. That means having policies that allow and encourage women to join the workforce and stay in the workforce, that have policies around education and worker training that include women and meet them where they are. It means paid family leave. It means universal public pre-K. It means better, more reliable childcare. If we make those investments, our economy will flourish and be more competitive. And if we don't, I worry deeply about America's ability to compete on the global stage.
Thank you. Abby, you talk about girls moving away from considering STEM careers at an early age. Why do you think that happens, and how do we improve opportunities for women and young girls to stay involved in STEM?
Yeah, so the reason it happens is actually pretty straightforward, and there's so much research that's already covered this, right? Our young girls are just not getting the same level of exposure to STEM top subjects in real ways as their equivalent male peers. I'll tell 2 examples. My oldest daughter, when she turned 7, I was really excited because it was the first time that I could actually take her to a coding course. And I just wanted to see, will you like it, right? I'm a computer scientist, and I'm like, are you gonna enjoy coding as much as I do? And we walked into the summer camp and we're excited. And as soon as we get to the line, I just start to get nervous because the line was full of young boys. And I'm thinking, oh God, she's going to be the only girl. She's going to be the only girl. And then I remembered that we invited another friend for the camp week. And so she was at least going to have another young girl. But this was 2019 before the pandemic. 2019, and we're still having summer camps where you have 95% in that case that are young boys, right? So the opportunity is just not balanced. Our young girls are not getting the exposure because a lot of times the way that we present the content is not really interesting to them, right? So where girls want to see STEM in the context of careers, in the context of what is this meaningful for? What impact am I going to have in the world with this job or with this subject? That's not really readily available, especially at the age where they're thinking about it, right? So age 12 is really early. That's elementary school, right? And we're not really talking about careers. We're not connecting concepts to careers just yet at that point. Another story, my daughters have a wonderful book that we've read for a long time. It's called Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, and it just highlights stories of wonderful women that have done different things throughout their lives. And my young girl asked me one day, and she said, well, why do they have to be rebels? And, it's a cute title that I never thought about it. I'm so used to being in this, male-dominated field that it made sense. But for her innocent mind, she's like, why are they rebels? And I realized that it's a really tall order to ask that all of our young girls have to fight for a place in their desired career. If we think about that, like we're making that a norm that you're going to have to fight for this place to be, in STEM. Or I think someone else mentioned earlier that we're still doing firsts, right? Women History Month, we still have first. We still have a first person to do this. We still have a first Black justice being female justice being nominated, right? It's such a tall order for the young girls that are coming behind us to feel like just to be in a career I love or might love, I might have to fight through all these things. And so it's no surprise that 30% of girls in high school that have a 4.0 GPA don't feel confident that they can have the careers they want. And that's research by Girls Index, ruling our experiences. And that's one of the most heartbreaking statistics to me, that a girl that has a 4.0 GPA could not still have the confidence because they don't see it, the career that they want. So how do we improve? I think we spend a lot of time and we put a lot of resources towards recontextualizing STEM for girls. And that's the work that I've committed to. That's what my team does, is with our content, we are working on recontextualizing STEM for girls in terms of its brand, in the way that we design our product, all of it aesthetically, in the design, in the project, all of it. We make it clear that this is for you, right? This is not you're being snuck into the party. That's not for you. This is all for you. We recontextualize them in terms of its relevance and their place in it as creators and innovators. I think doing all these things at different scales in the home, right? So we support caregivers. These kids go home to home so that parents can do this with their child. Doing it at schools, the entire ecosystem, thinking about like the teacher training programs, right? So teachers also have these tools for teaching STEM in a gender inclusive way. How do we help the entire ecosystem start to get to some parity in the way that we teach STEM, so that it's both exciting and engaging for girls and boys, and that would start to lead to more girls persisting beyond where they do right now.
Thank you, Abby. And Secretary, I know you have a commitment at 3:45, so please feel free to hop off. Hopefully we can get one more question in. I know this is a subject that's really near and dear to your heart, about how we find opportunities for young girls and women in underserved communities. I'm curious about, I know you recently spoke in a panel about this on digital equity. Could you talk about some of those opportunities and how we're opening the door, and any words of advice you'd give them as they're looking to their futures?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, one of the things that we are working really hard on and deeply committed to is closing the digital divide, bringing about digital equity. So many, 30 million Americans right now don't have access to reliable broadband. And I think that could be an underestimate. And not surprisingly, people of color, low-income Americans, people who live on tribal lands, rural lands, uh, people who live in subsidized housing, just are overly represented in that 30 million. And, listening to Abby talk with so much passion about opportunities for women and girls to innovate, be entrepreneurs, get involved in STEM, you can't do any of that if you don't have internet. Right? We couldn't be doing this without internet. You can't go to school without internet. Can't see the doctor without internet. Can't get tutored online without internet. On and on and on and on. Can't, in any event. So fundamental to giving girls and women opportunity is making sure every single one of them has high-speed, reliable, affordable broadband. And the Commerce Department is in charge of administering the money from the infrastructure plan, $45 billion, to make sure every American has broadband. And I am very deeply committed to making sure that means everybody, not just, that means really everybody. Beyond that, we have to continue to lean into apprenticeships and job training. And here's a big and, make sure that when we provide the job training, we also provide childcare. When I was governor, I saw over and over again, you start out the job training curriculum, it's 50-50 men and women. By the end, it's primarily men who graduate. And I would go to the graduation ceremonies and wonder, I say, why does this happen? Lack of childcare, lack of transportation. Women didn't have a car, couldn't have reliable babysitting that they could afford, dropped out. So here at Commerce, for the job training that we're doing, we're providing childcare, providing transportation, having it nights and weekends, so women can participate. So in any event, I think that I would just say this is all very doable if we're serious about it. And I'm trying here at the Commerce Department to set the tone at the top that equity isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, it's core to everything we do. We'll be a better Commerce Department if we're more diverse and there's opportunities for everyone. And so it's harder, right? We have to think differently. We have to recruit in different places. We have to reach into the community to develop pipelines. We have to support stuff like what Abby's doing to develop the STEM pipeline earlier. We have to change the way we work. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you're committed to it, there's no reason that we can't bring about equity and opportunity for women. And it's worth it. It's worth it for them and their families and for our economy.
Great. Thank you so much, Secretary Raimondo. I know you have to hop for a prior engagement. Abby, if you could stay on, we'll do one or two more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Abby, thanks so much. And thanks for sharing so much about Smart Girls HQ. Obviously, starting a business venture is a risk, but you plunged in, made the decision to dedicate 100% of your time and focus into making it a reality. What went into that decision, and when did you decide it was actually time to make the full commitment?
Yeah, before I answer that question, I just want to second the point that Secretary Raimondo made about us being able to do this if we really are intentional about doing it. And I think that underscores everything we're talking about today is really just intention behind it. And also leads to why I decided to go 100% is really just realizing that without that 100% intention, I wasn't going to get where I wanted to go. So to be transparent, honestly, I already had 2 jobs, right? I was on a progressive career path. in 13 years, I had changed jobs 7 times. So my career was really busy and growing. I was entrepreneurial. So even in my job, I was leading businesses. So I wasn't really in a 9 to 5. Like I was working a lot. And then I was also the CEO of my home, and I had these 2 young kids that were busy and growing and having activities. And so when this idea started to pop up in my mind, inspired by my girls, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, in 20 years, nothing has really changed. This is crazy. Like from when I went to college, and here I am in on product development teams, and we are doing amazing things, right? And I like to say, like, it's crazy to see how advanced our technology is as a society, and the kinds of things that we're accomplishing, right? Like we're going to space, and we're making cars move without them being driven. They're autonomous, right? And these are mind-blowing accomplishments. And so when you put that next to, we can't figure out how to get parity for women in STEM, it just makes me feel like we're not trying. Right? Like, it's like, how could we not be able to do that, but we can do this, right? And so I was working on product teams and leading product teams. And even though we would have huge goals every year, we achieved a lot of them. And so in my head, I'm like, for this problem to not be solved, are we applying the same kind of rigor that we apply to commercial problems to the social problem? That really was my hook. Is like, could I go do this and apply the same rigor, that we apply in the commercial context to it, and so that we can actually move the needle. So a lot of it was using the tools I learned in my professional career to dig down to areas where we haven't really looked into as a society to solve this problem around STEM, particularly supporting the ecosystem, right? So we go a lot to like the schools, even companies would go to, they go to college to recruit, but we have girls falling out of the pipeline much earlier than that, right? So no one was going down there. And when you go down there, you start to find out, oh, you got to deal with caregivers. Oh, well, now you're thinking about teachers, and there's so much to do, right? And nobody was doing that. So that was sort of what led me to, okay, this is the work that has to be done. And it just felt like so much for me to try to fit into the edges of my day. I didn't have the mental capacity to do it. So I had to figure out I was gonna either commit or let it go and let somebody else figure it out. And I couldn't let it go. I had these two girls looking at me, and I'm thinking, how can we not make it? How can we not make a difference for their future and the futures beyond them? Luckily, I had some personal capital from my years of working that I was willing to risk to bet on myself in this venture. But even I was really, really excited and I was passionate about what I was going to go work on, I honestly was terrified. It was a terrifying thing to do because I really did feel like I was taking so much personal and career risk. But what helped me get past it was starting to think about what I could gain in terms of experience, right? Like the kinds of skills I would learn from being an entrepreneur versus being an intrapreneur, and what I could contribute, what I could lead, what I could help bring to pass, and what I could contribute, what I could inspire the rest of the world to work on and bring attention to. It was those things that really helped me gain the courage to actually go for it.
I love that so much. And I love that you used your entrepreneurial spirit to actually make social change. And that's so great to hear and inspiring to others. So this will be our final question. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody who is looking to take that next step in pursuing their own business, what would that be?
So there's a quote that I always had in all of my cubicles and offices throughout my career, and it's by Goethe, and it says, "Whatever you dream to do, begin it, because boldness has genius in it." And that really is it. Is you just have to do it. You just have to start. You have to take whatever is the most meaningful step for you, and that's key, the most meaningful starting point for you, not for anybody else. For somebody else, it might be, go pound the pavement and raise friends and family capital. And for you, maybe that makes you want to puke. Don't do that, right? Like, for what is the most meaningful starting point for you? But just that act of starting, you will find really does have genius in it. The other thing I would add to that is you learn something from failing. You're going to learn something from succeeding, but there is absolutely nothing to learn from inaction. So just do it.